Okay, network address translation, NATing. This NAT is very common thing which is needed on any router or any firewall, including whichever brand you use, maybe a Cisco routers, Cisco firewalls, gateways, checkpoint, Palo Alto, Juniper, Fortinet, anything. Firewall is incomplete without NATing. So none of the firewall is complete without NAT, network address translation. All right. So it's very common term. Everybody know what is that NAT basically. Okay. So understanding NAT very first is what is this NAT? What is this network address translation? All right. So the feature in every firewall like NATing, which translate your IP address from one IP to the other IP, irrespective whatever IP address it is. Okay. So feature of the firewall software blade. Why it is called as in firewall software blade? Because this feature actually provided by your checkpoint, and every feature comes from the blade. Okay. They call their terminology is a blade. Okay. So in this firewall blade, okay, and it replaced IPv4 and IPv6 addresses to add more security. What is the purpose of doing NAT here? What is the purpose of doing NAT? NATing, that means translate your IP address. Okay, translate your IP. Simply, if we talk about IP to IP, this is a translation. That's a simple term is this. Translating IP to IP. You can translate your private IP to public. Okay, you can translate public IP to public. You can translate private IP to private. Okay, so these all are the translation: private IP address to the public IP address, private IP address to private IP address, or public IP address to the public IP address, and so on. There's all kind of translations you can do using this. Okay, now ideally when you talk about any of the firewall, so firewall can change both of the source and destination addresses in the packet. When any packets comes to your device, what it does, it translate or it change any of your source IP address to the destination IP address. Okay, for example, when your internal computer, let's say this is your checkpoint box. All right, and let me erase this one. Okay, so this is an internet. And when we take an internet connection from any ISP, what we get is we get a public IP address. So for example, let's say I have a public IP address like 192.168.126 or 125. This is my public IP address. Assume that. Okay. And in my internal network, I have a private IP address. Okay, this could be in my private network, like let's say 10.1.1.1.234. Here I have 10.1.1.100. This is my standard topology. All right. So an example, what I was saying is when any internal computer sends a package to the external computer, your firewall translate the source IP address to a new one. Okay, all right. This computer has 10.1.1.1 IP address. So when this computer want to go to the internet, maybe here, facebook.com. So how that packet would looks like, you will have a packet like source IP. What is your source IP address? This one, 10.1.1.1. Okay, what is your, now you will have a source port as well. Source port. So it will generate any of the port, let's say 54500. Okay. Now, then it will have a destination IP. So destination IP to whom I want to communicate? I want to communicate with facebook.com. So I have a Facebook IP address, let's say 59.103. Something something. Okay. And the port number, destination port is 80. This is the packet which is created. Now, the moment this packet comes on this firewall, what this firewall does, what this firewall will do actually, this firewall will translate your source IP address. Okay. So right now your source IP address is this one. So here translation would be your source IP would be this. This IP address is taking your query on behalf of this source. So your source IP address would be this one, 192.168.10.126. Your destination IP will remain the same, whatever, 59 dot something, Facebook IP address. Okay. And this packet will go. While this packet is coming back from him, from return back. Okay. When your packet coming back from return return packet would be like what? Return packet would be like source IP address. What is a source IP address? This Facebook server is generating, which is 59 something. This is a Facebook's IP address. What is a destination IP address which is generated by Facebook server? Which is this one, 10.126. Okay, and the respective port number. So this packet is coming up to this firewall on this interface. Now it will return translate to public to private. So now your source IP address, this firewall is translating to send this computer. Source IP address would be what? This one, 10.1.1.1. And your destination IP address will remain same, 59 or something. This is. So this is how it will go here. So ये 4 बार translation, मतलब 4 different packet headers. When this computer actually generating a packet, what is a source and what is a destination? When it comes to the firewall and firewall translating this to this public IP address, what is that? This one. Then when it is reaching to the Facebook, and then when Facebook is return packet, sending packet return, what would be the header? This one. Then when that return packet comes to the firewall, how it will translate? This one. So this is how 4 different headers. Okay. So now, okay. So what your checkpoint smart dashboards can give you? When we talk about the advantage, first of all, let us understand about the uh, your checkpoint dashboard. When we talk about a checkpoint, what your checkpoint firewall gives you? So you have a smart dashboard at your checkpoint. Let me show you. Okay, now you are at your checkpoint. Let's begin with yesterday's topology. Okay, this is my admin and password. Okay, so this is our yesterday's topology, what we have created. Okay, now let me begin with these devices. Let me power it on. Let this devices boots up. We need to give a few moments to boot this device. Okay, so let it boot. Meanwhile, we will discuss here what are the advantages we get into NAT. Okay, so advantage, why we do NAT in any of the environment. Very first is, this is my private network. Okay, so this entire network, I will use this. Okay, this is my private network. This private network, I do not want my private network should appear over the internet, so any hacker or anyone outsider should see this network. I don't want that anyone should see my private network outside. Okay, secure my private network, so I can hide my private network by using a NAT. If I don't do NAT, then my private IP addresses would be visible outside. Second thing is, hide network from outsiders. As I said, by making my networks hide, I can protect it. I will protect, visibility of my network. Now conserve legally registered IP addresses. Why we do netting? Because we do not have 1,000. So let's say in my network I have 1,000 users. So if I don't do netting and I want to make my network secure also, then I need to have 1,000 public IP address for 1,000 users. So is it possible? Is it feasible? No, it's not feasible, because already we have a shortage of IP address. So we have, let's say, one or two public IP address. So using one or two public IP address, how we can give internet to my entire private network? That is through the network. So these all are the basic advantages of having NAT. Perfect. Okay. Now, before moving forward to this, what this checkpoint NAT features, what this checkpoint actually gives me in terms of NAT, what kind of advancement checkpoint firewalls gives us. So let us start my smart console. Topology is what we created yesterday. So IP addresses are this 1.100. I have to use 1.100. So this is, and password is admin123. So I have this smart console. So what add-on features I get? So there are few key features what I get in this checkpoint. First is, it easy enable the firewall to translate all traffic that goes to my internal network or goes from my internal network. Whatever traffic I want to send from my internal network, it is very easy translated automatically. There are certain mechanisms which does it automatically also. Okay, this is first thing. Second thing, smart dashboard can automatically create static or hide NAT. For example, for the simple networks, we do not know how to create NAT, or we don't want to create any additional NAT rules and all. So using a smart console, we can create this automatically. Admin123. Okay, third advantage what I get with this smart board actually is smart dashboard. So you can manually create NAT rules for different types of configurations and deployment as you want in your customized network. So you can create your own customized NATing rules, and this checkpoint actually gives you flexibility to do configurations with most of the all industrial cases oriented configurations. So whatever case you want to bring it up, whatever situation you want to bring it up for your organization, that kind of netting, that kind of things you can create. All right. So this is a smart dashboard, and in this smart dashboard, we will see how we can make it. So these all are three different advantages I have explained you about that. Now, Now, next important thing is a type of NAT. How many different types of NATs we can create? How many different types of NATs we can create into checkpoint firewall? So listen, security gateway, the security gateway can use this different procedures to translate IP address in your network. Okay, but there are certain parameters, certain ways which are defined. Just like very first types of NAT is a static NAT. Okay, what you do in static NAT, this is similar in your Cisco routers or firewalls as well. So each internal IP address is translated to the different public IP addresses. All right, now the firewall can allow external traffic to access internal resources as well. You can NAT manually any internal IP address to any public IP address. Okay, and vice versa. So from external network also your private network can be utilized. So static NAT is basically for what? Static NAT is basically for NATing one to one. For example, let's say, let me give you an example. You have a firewall, okay, and you have a internet. You have a public IP addresses, let's say 192.168.10.126. Okay, you have a private network below, okay, where you have certain client computers, you have certain servers as well. Let's say this is your let's say FTP server. Okay, now what I want, this FTP has got my private IP address, let's say 192. Oh, not this one, not this one. I will give something from private range. Let's say 10.1.1.100. Okay, this IP address to an FTP. Now there is an employee which is working from home. Okay, this guy want to access this FTP. This is private network resource. So what I can do? I can do a NAT with this particular IP address with this particular IP address. Public IP, this public IP address should be translated with this private IP address. Okay, it should be translated with 10.1.1.100 private IP. All right, so this is a static NAT so that any outsiders can access this public IP address and it will be automatically diverted, translated to this, and whatever service is available would be accessible. Okay, this is one kind of different NAT. Okay, now next one is an hide NAT. What do you mean by hide NAT? The firewall use port numbers to translate all specific internal IP addresses to the single public IP address. Okay, and hides the internal IP structure. Okay, so here we call as an hide NAT. Similar way we call a dynamic NAT in Cisco pattern. Okay, Cisco में उसी को dynamic NAT के नाम से हम जानते हैं. कैसे? You have a internet, you have a firewall, you have a public IP address 192.168.10.126. Okay, and you have an internal network. Now in this internal network you have a many computers. Okay, maybe entire network like 10.1.1.0/24. So you want to provide internet to this entire network. Okay, so if you do a static NAT, if you do a static NAT or any dynamic NAT, what it will do? You have a one public IP address and you have here, let's say 255 users. So our entire network is NATed with this public IP address. So will it work? Of course it will work. But what will happen? Only one translation can happen at a time. So when it is translating from 10.1, then it will not take any other one. So it will take all one by one. So my performance will goes down. To avoid this problem, we have a hide NAT. Hide NAT, actually this firewall use a port number. In Cisco language, we call as an PAT. Okay, what it does, ये क्या करता है? It can carry. अब ये स्टैटिक नेट में एक टाइम पर एक ही क्वेरी इसलिए लेके जा सकता है कि अभी इसने 10 का क्वेरी लेके गया, 10.1 को इसमें ट्रांसलेट हुआ, ये गया फेसबुक को, ओके, और 10.2 को भी लेकर जाएगा, गया याहू को, ओके। अब इस पर क्वेरी आई है दो, फेसबुक की भी क्वेरी रिटर्न आ गई, इसकी भी क्वेरी रिटर्न आ गई। तो ये कैसे डिसाइड करेगा कि कौन सा रिवर्स क्वेरी किसका है, 10.1 का है कि 10.2 का? आइडेंटिफाई ही नहीं कर पाएगा, क्योंकि इसमें मल्टीपल आईपी एड्रेसेस, प्राइवेट आईपी एड्रेस मल्टीपल बाइंड हो चुके हैं, पब्लिक एक ही है, तो ये आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाएगा। इसलिए क्या बनाया? पैट बनाया, मीन्स हाइड नेट बनाया। इसमें क्या करेगा? हाउ इट विल ट्रांसलेट? इट विल हैव ए सोर्स आईपी which is, let's say, 10.1.1.1. Okay, it will have a destination IP address, that means your global IP address, which is 110.126. Okay, इसमें translate हो रहा है. Then it will have a unique port number for this computer, let's say 8081. Okay, and this will go. Another translation जैसा इसका query है 10.2 का, so this will be 10.1.1.2. It will translate with the same IP address 126, but port number is different. Okay, 10.1.1.3 with the same public IP address, but port number is different. Okay, so that packet is going with the unique port number. So when this packet is going to Facebook and coming back to this, ये देखेगा कि okay, कौन सा पोर्ट नंबर है? 8081. 8081 किसको जाना चाहिए? 10.1.1.1 को जाना चाहिए, तो वो रिस्पॉन्स इसको जाए। याहू का रिस्पॉन्स आया, किसको जाना चाहिए? 8082. किसको? 10.1.1.2, that will go here. Okay, so with the help of port number, it recognizes the internal IP addresses, and this is actually facilitating your NAT to carry multiple translations at a time. अब ये hide NAT or PAT, hide NAT or PAT. Now it can carry thousands of translations at a time without any problem. Okay, so if we talk about the Cisco checkpoint, it can carry 50,000 connections at a time. It can take 50,000 connections at a time. Your checkpoint R80. Perfect. Now, how hide NAT with the port translations? A similar way I said, hide NAT. This was for this simple hide NAT is for going internal IP address to outside. This was your hide NAT. Now hide NAT with the port translation from external to internal. Okay, अब ये कैसे काम करता है देखेंगे, वापस अगेन इरेज कर दिया मैंने. Now you have a internet. Okay, you have a firewall. मैंने आपको बताया कि hide NAT with the port which is from external to internal. So you have a switch. Okay, now you have certain servers as well. FTP. You have another server. SMTP means your email server, mail server. You have another server, maybe your proxy. Okay, so these all are different servers you have. अब आपके पास पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस एक ही है, 192.168.10.126, तो एक ही पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस है. ओके, अब ये एक पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस है, तो स्टैटिक नेट में आप क्या कर सकते हो, इस एक पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस को रिवर्स ट्रैफिक के लिए, एक्सटर्नल टू इंटरनल के लिए आप किसी एक आईपी एड्रेस के साथ मैच कर सकते हो, नॉट मोर देन वन। ओके, एक आईपी एड्रेस आएगा तो कोई भी एक के साथ मैप करोगे आप, तो काम नहीं बनेगा। तो इसका मतलब मुझे, इफ आई वांट टू मेक पब्लिकली अवेलेबल माय थ्री सर्वर्स, देन I need to have a three public IP address, but I don't have. Then how I would do that? So then what I can do is I can again do with the port number. Okay, I can map, I can map here like my source IP. What is my source IP address? This one. Query external to internal आ रही है ना, तो source IP address is 10.126। इस पर कोई क्वेरी आई तो कहाँ पे जाना चाहिए, इस सर्वर पे। व्हाट इज दैट, 10.1.1.1.100, दिस इज 1.101, दिस इज 1.102। सो इस पर जाना चाहिए। सो माय डेस्टिनेशन आईपी एड्रेस इज 1.100। okay, then I will have a port, let's say I will define a port number, SMTP है तो मैंने port number define कर दिया, let's say 25। destination port 25। okay, now 10.1.126 ये 101, 10.101 1.101 कहाँ पर जाना चाहिए, FTP सर्वर 21। ओके, 10.126 एक ही पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस है, बट माय डेस्टिनेशंस आर मेनी, 1.102 पोर्ट नंबर प्रॉक्सी विच इज 80। सो अब मैं यहाँ से एक्सेस करना चाह रहा हूँ, यहाँ से यदि मैं एक्सेस करता हूँ मेरे FTP को, तो मैं क्या करूंगा, I will just access this IP address 192.168.10.126 and port number I will define, let's say 21। So if I define port number 21, तो यहाँ पर आएगा ये NAT table check करेगा 21 is equal to 10.101, so it will NAT with this IP address and my query will go here। okay, if I give here 25, then it will check 25 is NATed with this IP address, so it will go here। okay, if I give here 80, it will understand 80 means 102, so it will go here to the proxy like that। so this is hide NAT with the port translation। perfect। now already I have explained you how that translation actually goes। so I hope you understood now the translation, how that translation actually goes। So your entire translations, my friends, actually works based on layer 3 and layer 4। So translation is based on layer 3 and layer 4. How it is? This is your firewall. These all are computers. So you will have a two different headers. Okay. There will be a layer 2 headers and layer 3 headers when a translation comes up on your device। Perfect। So when your device generates a packet, this will have a two layers informations, like let's say your source IP address। source IP address कौन है, ये खुद है 10.1.1.1। okay, this is your source IP address। now it will have a destination IP address, destination IP to whom it want to access, it want to access a Facebook, so let's say 59.x.x something। okay, then it will have a source port। okay, source port is let's say 45001। okay, that will be random generated here। okay, now your destination port is let's say it is accessing a Facebook server, So your destination port is 80. Okay. Now look at this. This is your network layer header. Okay. And this part is your transport layer. Okay, this is your transport layer header, and this is your network layer header. While your traffic is returning, that will have the same thing. The similar kind of translations it will be. Okay, as I explained. Perfect. Okay, now let's move to the actual NAT deployment scenarios. If you want to deploy, this is our lab. So I have a different scenario now. Here in this lab I have a gateway and I have a management device separately, but now the lab what we have created yesterday, I have a same both the role on same device, no problem. Okay, so first today we are going to see now source NAT. Okay, so there will be two, no, now in checkpoint definitions there will be two different types of NATs. Okay, one would be source NAT and second one is destination. Okay, so both has got a difference. So source NAT is what exactly? So let's understand the source NAT. Now it is actually used at translations, outbound traffic. Okay, source NAT is entirely responsible for your outbound traffics, means anything going from your internal network to the outside world. This is your internal, right? So anything going from your internal network to outside world, it is a source NAT. Perfect. Okay. Now in this source NAT, we can do so many different things. Okay. So inside this source NAT, we have so many different types of NAT mechanisms. Like very first, we can do here hide NAT. Okay. Second, we can do here device NAT. We can NAT with the device. Third, we can do manual NAT. Okay. Fourth, we can do interface NAT. Okay. Fifth, we can do IP pool translation. IP pool translation NAT. Okay, so these all are different method, different types of nattings we can do under the source NAT. All right. Okay. So let's start now. So I'm going to show you something. Let's begin with the topology now. So let's go here. This is our topology, and we have various internal rules we have created. So many rules yesterday we have created. Like this is for social media block and everything. Let me delete this. Okay, so let me have a simple rules because we don't want to focus on a rules now. Yesterday we have seen how to create various different types of rules. Now we want to focus on NAT. So very first types of NAT, look at this. Rules are there, everything is there, but we do not have a NAT. Then what will happen? I'm going to network object, what we have created here, networks. These all are the objects we have created. So LAN object, you can take a mouse here and you have a edit option. This is here you have a NAT. So what I'll do, I'll just uncheck this. I will uncheck and say okay. For management also, right click edit, NAT, uncheck this, and it is done. So right now I do not have any NAT. Install the policy. Okay, policy is getting installed. This is perfect. So your policy is installed. Now there is no NAT. Go here. This is a NAT. So whatever NAT rules comes up, it will be here. This is by default your checkpoint NAT rules. Okay, I will explain you. Rest nothing is here. Rest nothing is here. Okay. Now let us go and check. Do you really have a internet access here? Okay. This is my computer. Now let's go. IP address and everything is given there. Do I have a reachability? Am I able to go out? No. Why I'm not able to go? Because you have a rule, you have everything. But by default, your firewall will never translate anything because it must have to have a rule. Okay. It must have to have a rule. Guys, just give me one moment. Yeah, I'm back now. So yeah, so it is not working. It is not at all pinging. It is not working. Why? Because there is no NAT. Even though there are rules for policies, but NAT is not there. Now let me do very first type of NAT, which is a hide NAT. Hide NAT, that means what it will do, it will NAT every all the subnets, or it will NAT particular network object which is sitting behind your public IP address. So this is your public IP address, and behind that whatever network you define, or for whichever network you define, it will get NATed. So look at this, क्या हो रहा है इसमें देखो. So इसमें now this is my network object. I right click and edit this. अब इसको सबसे पहला नेट टाइप में जा रहा हूं, हाइड नेट. Add automatically address translation rule. Look at this. When I click it, automatically it will add a rule. And which NAT I want to use it? Hide and static. So I am using a hide NAT. Okay. I am trying to do hide NAT. Now look at this here. अब यहां पर क्या है ऑप्शन, क्या चूज किया मैंने? हाइड बिहाइंड द गेटवे. मतलब गेटवे को जो भी आईपी एड्रेस पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस होगा, जो भी आईपी एड्रेस आप गेटवे को होगा पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस, उसके साथ वो ट्रांसलेट हो जाएगा। अब आप इसका मतलब ये है कि आप गेटवे का कोई आईपी एड्रेस बदलोगे, आईएसपी चेंज करोगे, स्टिल यू नीड नॉट टू वरी, automatically it will assume what IP address is external and it will go through that. Okay, now I will do this. Okay, alright, मैनेजमेंट नेटवर्क में तो कोई क्लाइंट है ही नहीं, फिर उसके लिए मुझे जरूरत भी नहीं है, लेट इट बी। ओके, अब देखो, अब इस पॉलिसी को मैं इंस्टॉल करता हूं, पहले मुझे पॉलिसी इंस्टॉल करनी पड़ेगी, या यहाँ पर देखना चाहोगे तो यहाँ पे दिख जाएगा। देखो जैसे ही मैंने वो किया, क्या हो गया, यहाँ पर दो नए रूल्स ऐड हो गए, दिस वन, ये तो डिफॉल्ट थे, दिस टू रूल्स। अब यहाँ पर टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस यू नीड टू लुक एट, यू नीड टू केयरफुली अंडरस्टैंड दिस वन। नाउ व्हाट इज योर ओरिजिनल सोर्स? Very carefully understand what is your original source. Original source is my LAN segment. That means source IP addresses are from this LAN segment. Okay, now next one is ओरिजिनल डेस्टिनेशन। ओरिजिनल डेस्टिनेशन कौन? ये सेम लैन। पहला रूल क्या किस लिए है? वी आर फोकसिंग ऑन अ फर्स्ट रूल। ओरिजिनल सोर्स इज अ लैन 10.1.1.0 and original destination 10.1.1.0. That means any IP address, any IP address from this subnet to this subnet. For example, let's say if there is another computer, okay, if this computer 10.1.1.10 IP address it has and 10.1.1.11 IP address it has, so if this IP address want to access to this IP address, then what to do? Then don't do anything. Then don't do anything. Look at this. Then what it is saying, what to do? Then original service, what original service? Any. Translation source, what? Keep original. Translation destination, keep original. Translation service, keep original. That means keep original, that means don't do anything. ओके, तो से विद इन द नेटवर्क कम्युनिकेट हो रहा है तो उसको ट्रांसलेट मत करो, ये पहला रूल है। दूसरा रूल क्या है? दूसरा रूल है एनी सोर्स, एनी ओरिजिनल सोर्स दिस सबनेट, एनी डेस्टिनेशन, एनी मतलब पब्लिक का कोई भी, ओरिजिनल सर्विस क्या? एनी, विच प्रोटोकॉल? एनी, translate to, translated source would be this one. Okay, okay, translated destinations is original. Look at this. So now anything coming from this local subnet to any other destination, then translate to the your original whatever IP address is configured there, it will go through this. But if any from this to this, then keep it original, don't translate. So this is what two rules automatically added there. Okay, now you go and check what happens there. I have not installed it, so let me install. So simple. First rule is to keep original. If from same network to same network accessing, from this 10 network to any other else, then translate to this your translated source, and translated destination is original. That means your public IP address which is there on your gateway. Because हमने hide net किया इसलिए यहाँ पर वो दिखेगा नहीं. You are not defining anything. It's done. Now let's go and check. Now see, it is going. Okay, now look at this. If I do something, let's say ping इट्स पिंगिंग। ओके, अब मैं कोई अलग प्रोटोकॉल का क्वेरी भेजता हूँ, लेट्स से nslookup yahoo.com, तो ये nslookup हो गया। अब चलते हैं, देखते हैं इस पे क्या हो रहा है, क्वेरी लॉग चेक करते हैं। देखो, go to the logs, why it's searching, ओके देख लो। What is the timestamp? It's in yesterday's log. Okay, I need to check whether logs are enabled in policy. Logs are enabled for all. I can check here also. Let's say from this segment. Okay, you have this. अब देखो ये DNS lookup के लिए आया। Okay, now look at here. Try to look at what things it is talking about. Look at here. Your source is this one, this source. Okay, and now it is natted. Your natted source, it is natted with this IP address. Okay, now your source port, it has taken a random port. Okay, your source port. Okay, and your source port here, this one, translated source, natted source port. Okay, now your source zone is internal. This is from your internal. Which rule number? Rule number 4. It is from rule number 4. रूल नंबर 3 क्या है? लैन टू लैन है, तो ये रूल नंबर 4 से नेट हुआ है। ओके, एंड नेट एडिशनल रूल इज 1। ओके, अब ये क्वेरी आपका किस चीज से रिलेटेड था? मैंने एनएस लुकअप किया, तो एनएस लुकअप योर डोमेन यूडीपी 53, डीएनएस पोर्ट का, डीएनएस का पोर्ट नंबर 53 है, so that was your NS lookup. So these all are entire logs. You can check it out here, and this is how you can make over. Okay, that was your hide NAT. Now what I want is practical 2. I do not want an hide NAT, automatic NAT. By default it is going from 125. Why it is taking 125? Because look at this here, my IP address here is, okay, show interface Ethernet 0 125. This is 125. हाइड नेट है तो जो भी एक्सटर्नल आईपी एड्रेस है इट इज गोइंग विद दैट. Perfect. Now I don't want hide NAT. I want to do a manual NAT, lab 2. Okay, practical 2 we are going to see manual NAT. So manual NAT के लिए सबसे पहले हम क्या करेंगे? Okay, let me remove hide NAT, automatic NAT. Edit NAT, removed. LAN segment से हमने पहले ही remove कर दिया तो उस पर नहीं है NAT. Okay, NAT remove कर दिया. Let me install the policy. Install it. Okay, installing. Perfect, done. Now let me ensure that is it working now still? It's not working. It is not working because there is no NAT available. Okay, now I am doing a manual NAT. Look at this. जैसे ही मैंने हटा दिया रूल हट गया यहाँ से. Okay, ये default route है. Forget about that. Now I want to create my own rule. So how to create? How to create? So I will choose here, look at the option. You have add rule above, add rule on top, add rule at bottom, whatever you want, add rule on top. So I am creating my own manual route, manual netting rule. I don't want to rely on default or hide net नहीं है इसमें. अब मैं खुद का rule manual बना रहा हूँ. So original source, what should be my original source? Original source मेरा कौन है? ये LAN. Okay, now original destination कहाँ जाने के लिए? Anything at the public network, anywhere. ओरिजिनल सर्विस कौन से प्रोटोकॉल को एक्सेस करने के लिए मैं अलाउ करना चाहता हूं? एनी. नाउ नेटिंग में देखो यहाँ पर यू कैन डिफाइन अ प्रोटोकॉल एज वेल. It will NAT only if the protocol match. Okay, that also you can make it. It's your choice. Right now I'm making firstly a little simple. Translated source. अब translated source क्या होगा? ओरिजिनल हाइड में ऑटोमेटिकली ये ले लेता है पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस. नाउ यहाँ पर आपको मैन्युअली डिफाइन करना है. ओके, सो मैन्युअल डिफाइन करना है तो यहाँ पर गेटवे का आईपी एड्रेस आपके पास है क्या? डू यू हैव अ गेटवे आईपी एड्रेस? दिस वन? नो, दिस इज योर management IP address. So you do not have a public IP address. So what you need to do is you need to create a object. Okay, create a WAN IP object. So I can go here new. Okay, and I can create a host. Perfect. WAN IP, let's say 192.168.10.125. ये मेरा WAN IP है. ये ये नाम है. ओके, एक्चुअल आईपी एड्रेस आप यहाँ पर दे दो 192.168.10.125. ओके, ये मेरा आईपी एड्रेस है. यहाँ पर देखो नेटवर्क मैनेजमेंट ऑप्शंस है. यू नीड नॉट टू डू एनीथिंग हियर. नेट है. आई डोंट वांट टू डू हाइड नेट हियर. यहाँ से भी हाइड नेट किया जा सकता है. एडवांस और ये सब नो, आई डोंट वांट. आई जस्ट वांट टू क्रिएट एन ऑब्जेक्ट. मैंने ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट किया. दिस इज अ पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस व्हाट आई हैव एट माय फायरवॉल. ओके, ऑब्जेक्ट इज क्रिएटेड और वो यहाँ पर ऐड भी हो गया ऑटोमेटिकली. ओके, क्योंकि मैंने यहाँ से ही क्रिएट किया था इसके थ्रू. यदि मैं यहाँ पे नेटवर्क ऑब्जेक्ट के थ्रू करता तो फिर यहाँ पे मुझे विजिबल हो जाता. ओके, ये वैन ऑब्जेक्ट हमने ऐड किया वहां पर. ये है. ओके, now what I need to do here after that, translated destination, keep it original. Translated services, keep it original. Need not to do anything there. That's perfect. बस इतना ही करना है. This is the one. Okay, and then I need to make it here hide. That method should be hide. बस इतना ये कर देना है आपको. Now install the policy. Installing. Now I have done manual NAT. Okay, done. Policy is installed. Now check. Ping Yahoo. Yeah, it is pinging. NS lookup. If I do NS lookup, it is doing. Now let's go. If I go and check the logs there, I can see the logs now. ये DNS log UDP का log आ रहा है. Look at this. So your log is coming up. Okay, so you can filter like this. (53) के logs हम अभी भेज रहे हैं DNS lookup के. Now look at this. Your NAT rule is 1. From which rule it is matching out? 1. NAT rule 1. Perfect. This is your rule. So here you have a NAT things. Perfect. This is one. This is your static manual NAT we have created. Now
Sir, but what's showing the yesterday's time?
वो आपके गेटवे का टाइम आपको सेट करना पड़ेगा यहाँ का. Okay, your gateway and my computer's time is not synced. Wrong time per set.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to sync, you need to set your gateway time so it is according to this box, not your local computer. Okay.
Yeah.
ये क्या होता है कि हम लोग इस लैब को ऑफ कर देते हैं, राइट. इसको ऑफ कर दिया राउटर को,
Okay.
तो उसका क्लॉक वहां पर रुक जाता है.
अच्छा, हाँ, okay.
उसका क्लॉक वहीं पे रुक गया है ना.
हम्म.
और फिर चालू किया तो सेव्ड कॉन्फ़िगरेशन है, वो वहीं से रिज्यूम होता है.
Okay, okay, हाँ, got it.
उसका क्लॉक वहीं से रिज्यूम हो रहा है. ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. ओके,
हम्म.
तो मेरा कंप्यूटर 29 में है, लेकिन ये यस्टरडे 28 में ही है, क्योंकि उसका क्लॉक वहां से शुरू हुआ. अंडरस्टूड.
Yes, sir, yes.
हाँ, तो इसलिए वो वैसा होता है. आप उसको पॉज कर दिया, ये लैब है, तो लैब में आप उसको पॉज कर देते हो. प्रोडक्शन में वो कंटिन्यू चलता रहेगा तो क्लॉक कंटिन्यू चालू रहेगी. इट इज लाइक दैट. ओके, नाउ लेट्स सी थर्ड केस. केस 3. केस 3 ये है, assume that Oh no, now I'm going to very critical things, okay? जो प्रोडक्शन में हम यूज करते हैं, okay? Try to understand. Now I'm in this scenario. I have a IP address this one. But from ISP, मैं ISP ने मुझे 10 IP address दिए हैं. I have IP addresses from let's say 125 to 130. I have a 10 public IP addresses. But इस इंटरफेस पर कितना IP address कॉन्फ़िगर किया है? एक ही. I want to do netting on IP address or translating which is not configured on my interface. अब 126 मेरे इंटरफेस पे कॉन्फ़िगर ही नहीं है, कहीं पर 125 कॉन्फ़िगर है, बट मैं चाहता हूं कि ट्रांसलेशन 126 पर हो. ओके, सो अब ये छोटा सा क्वेश्चन है, यदि किसी ने एएसए फायरवॉल पढ़ा होगा या सिस्को पर पढ़ा होगा तो नाउ यू टेल मी, if in your ASA firewall, if this is the case, what you will do? Anyone have hands on ASA firewall? सिरिन नेटवर्क पर काम कर रही है, बताएंगे, बताइए सिरिन क्या होगा, कैसे होगा? ASA फायरवॉल पर आप काम कर रहे हो और यहाँ पर 125 आपके फायरवॉल पर दिया हुआ है, 126 से मुझे नेट करना है, तो क्या करेंगे?
No, sir, I don't know.
हाँ, you have done ASA.
Yes, sir.
So फिर तो you should know that then there is no use of doing ASA.
Yes, sir, I should know.
Okay, anyone else, guys?
Sir, we will do manual net maybe.
अरे वही तो बात करें, मैनुअली करेंगे अपन, बट कैसा करोगे? करण, एनी आइडिया करण?
No, sir.
नो आइडिया.
Yep.
ओके, योगेश.
No, sir.
All right, अरे it's very simple. You will create sub interface. खलास. You on Cisco you will create sub interfaces and assign IP address to sub interfaces. No worry. Under one physical interface you can create n number of sub interfaces, my friends. So that's fine. बट इन चेक पॉइंट में ऐसा कुछ ऑप्शन नहीं है आपके पास सब इंटरफेसेस का. यहाँ पर आप सब इंटरफेसेस नहीं क्रिएट कर सकते हो. राउटर्स में, सिस्को के राउटर्स पर या सिस्को के एएसए फायरवॉल पर आप इजीली सब इंटरफेस क्रिएट कर लेते हो, बट यू डोंट हैव दैट ऑप्शन हियर. सो इन रियल एनवायरनमेंट इफ यू हैव अ पूल ऑफ आईपी एड्रेसेस, लेट्स से आपने आईएसपी से /28 या /27 का आईपी एड्रेस पूल ले लिया एंड यू वांट टू नेट अ डिफरेंट पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेसेस for a different kind of purpose. So what you will do now, I will show you how you can do that. Okay, so let's see that. Try to focus. So right now what I have to do is I have to remove my existing NAT if I have any. This is I have created, right click and delete. I have deleted it, install it, so that there will be no confusion. Okay, this is very important case. Okay, we use in production environment. Okay, now I don't have any netting here. My internet is not working. Now I am doing it. Okay, so I can do it with the various different methods. So what I'll do, I will go here. This is for LAN. Right click, edit. This is my network object I have created. I will go to the net and then I will enable a hide net. Okay, so I am doing an hide net and I will go ahead here, hide behind IP address. Click here, hide behind IP address, and I will give the IP address whatever I want. So 192.168.10.11. 126, which is not configured on my firewall. But this is a public IP address what I have. Okay, so I gave here, and that's it. And that's it. Look at this. So rule is created here. Uh, Now I need to install policy. That's it. Oh, that's it now. Now check. Am I able to? Yahoo. आ गया? चलो मैं NS लुकअप कर लेता हूँ किसी और फेसबुक का NS लुकअप हो गया. ओके, चलो देखते हैं लॉग कौन से आईपी एड्रेस के थ्रू गया है. लॉग्स में आ जाओ, रिफ्रेश कर दो. ओके, ये सबसे ऊपर वाला रूल देख लेते हैं. देखो, ओके, नाउ लुक एट दिस. Which IP address it is going through? It is going through 126, which is not exactly physically configured on any interface, but it is going through that. Perfect. Now look at this. Your NAT rule is 4 number. Okay, 4 number. That means, do you want to see that? 4 number is this. From this LAN to any original service, from this LAN, an original IP address, whichever it is, which is hidden behind that public IP address, what we have given here. It is going through that one. Okay. Okay, so that's all from my side now for today. These all are for 3-4 cases. Now, few more cases we'll see tomorrow. That will go at least 2 to 3 sessions.